Sorry for all the delay. If everybody would go ahead and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's quite a chorus. Thank you. Okay. Do I hear an approval of the agenda?
Madam Chair, there's one issue on the agenda. I forgot to put the date for the minutes that you're going to approve, and the minutes are of February 7th.
Oh, yes, we did receive them in our packet, so thank you. Commissioners, do you have any objection to that?
I don't have any objections.
No, I do not. But also note in action item D, the amount on the agenda is different than the amount on the actual voucher by just a few dollars, $3-ish.
And what is that?
Okay, that's so voucher, the one for $287.20 that's on the Port of Allyn regular meeting agenda is actually $284.27, unless I'm missing something here.
Okay.
The actual voucher would be correct.
Okay, I just wanted to note that on the agenda, that's a small error, but got it.
Fix it.
That's it.
Do I hear an agenda approval
Yeah,
with the addition?
Yeah, I'll second that motion. I believe.
I'm sorry, I hear a motion.
Oh, I thought I heard a motion from Commissioner Jackson. I'll make the motion to approve the agenda.
Second?
And I'll second. I reviewed it. Yep.
Okay, with the addition of the approval of February 7th.
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, so moved. Thank you. Okay, we have public comment. If you would please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Who would like to go first? Who'd like to go first? Do I see a hand? Well, I saw Jeff raise his finger. Jeff, go ahead.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, thank you, Commissioners. 3 quick things. One is on the executive's report, there's a reference to the an outage, for a leak. And it just mentioned somewhere between the well and a storage tank. Being that a lot of road construction is going up on Wheelwright and Blackwell and Drum. And I just wanted to find out if there was any problem up there.
I can answer that. No, there's not. It's actually right behind the office.
Oh, okay. Okay. Just with all the construction going on up there, it's like,
yeah.
Just want to make
good
sure.
Question.
Second thing, dealing with the vouchers for the water system. We've had different conversations over the last year, and I believe that the port should start looking at getting some portion of the payroll amounts, some factor at least figured out somehow in that number, because I mean, obviously there's time spent on the water system. It doesn't self-exist. So just a request. Thank you.
Yeah, good one, Jeff. Thank you. Was that it?
We'll leave it at that. Leave it
Okay.
at that. Thank you.
All right. Who's next? Brad.
Good. Brad Carey here. So my brother Jeff is a little more diplomatic than I am with regard to that issue. Let me make it clear. I've been taking a look at the attorney invoices that the port's been writing checks for. Looks like you guys are a little over $95,000 for the last 12 months. That's my guesstimate. But what's important here is it looks like the lion's share of those vouchers money's been taken out of the general fund. And my concern again is, as I've said before, the port needs to have consent before it goes ahead and enters into the water business. And then once it gains consent, it needs to make sure that the cost for implementing that water system are solely borne by the ratepayers. So I can't stress the importance for the port to go ahead and tally up what those numbers are, and then have that water fund pay that money back. Now, I also learned over the weekend that in looking finally at some Endurance documents, that the port apparently tendered my complaint. They didn't tender Washington Water's cease and desist letter, but they tendered my complaint to Endurance. I figured they didn't tender Washington Water's cease and desist letter, probably because it maybe was a little more formal than mine. But you guys approached Endurance back in April of 2021, before I even filed the complaint, and were entertaining or alerting Endurance of potential litigation. That I was not aware of. Anyway, having said that, Endurance denied your claim. And I've talked to everybody in town that I know of, and they don't know about what's being spent. They don't know that your tendering was denied, and they don't know why it was denied. And myself included, I don't know, have you guys filed an appeal? Why was it denied? And is that something we need to look into? Because the whole purpose of having insurance is to cover errors and omissions. Now, it doesn't cover willful acts. How am I doing on time, Ms. Chairwoman?
You have 57 seconds left.
Okay, good. Actually, I'll take questions afterward, John, so hang in there, please. Okay, so second thing is Larry Coppola, now, as you guys know, is also representing the Port of Manchester, if I understood the records that I read. Having said that, that'd be like Russell Wilson quarterbacking or Pete Carroll coaching the Seahawks and also having an ownership in the Denver Broncos. It just doesn't work. It's like serving two wives. The minute you serve one, you're going ahead and violating the other. So it's critically important that the commission understand that ports compete and they have competing interests. And there's no way, it just shows poor judgment. And on top of that, were you guys even aware of it? Again, I don't know because you don't answer my questions. All right, I guess I'll follow up with completely saying this. Hey, if you're going to operate a port, please spend 1/10 of the money you're spending now to sidestep the law in complying with the law, and all these problems will go away. If you just understand who you work for and ask instead of tell, you'll understand. One last thing. I disagree with Larry's executive director report on the issue of how we're sending records requests. I'll explain later, but I specifically do it for a reason. And you'll notice most of my records requests are sent to everybody. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you. Duly noted.
You're welcome.
Next.
Madam Chairman, can I respond to one aspect with Mr. Carey? And as you know, with Commissioner Scott that was on there, we approached, the executive director approached us regarding being a port commissioner for the Port of Manchester. And we all agreed, Mr. Carey, that it was not a conflict of interest. I have other conflicts of interest that I think you and I have discussed with regards to people being nonprofit and being park employees with the county. But I don't think there's anything with regards to Mr. Coppola being a Manchester port commissioner, that was any conflict of interest. I used to work covering all this area, and I don't see a conflict of interest. I really don't. And Commissioner Cooper, Commissioner Scott, and I discussed this, and I hope somebody could prove me wrong, but I don't see a conflict of interest. Now, if Mr. Coppola was with the Port of Bremerton, which I wish some of our commissioners and some of our people that run real estate would understand that we do have a conflict of interest with the Southern Bremerton, Southwest Bremerton, and they would separate their opinions, yes, but not the Port of Manchester. Port of Manchester is very benign, and I understand what they have in their holdings, and I didn't see there was a problem. So.
Okay, well, I appreciate the explanation. My only concern is just be aware that if you guys start competing for grant funding or other industries to attract to the district, that there probably will be a conflict of interest if you're both competing for the same money. And so just be aware of that when you're exercising, discharging your duties, because that creates a real problem. I mean, you might just check with the state auditor's office, or I will, to see what they think on it. I have no problem with people in a fire department in a port district, that's understandable. But when you got two of the same businesses, to me, it's just sort of poor judgment and immediately creates a conflict of interest. But I understand what you're saying. Thank you.
But I appreciate it, but there's other conflicts of interest. We have people that don't even live in this community chiming in on stuff that have the stuff to do with this community, and they think they do. But I don't think this is a conflict.
Okay, well, I appreciate your explanation. Thanks, Ted.
You betcha.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a comment if I could.
Sure.
Before I was asked to run for the Port of Manchester, and I was asked by one of their commissioners to do so upon the retirement of a 20-year commissioner. I checked with all three of you as to if you thought there was a conflict. You all said no. I checked with WPPA. They said there no conflict at all. And also, I talked to our attorney. He didn't seem to think there was a conflict. And just for your information, Mr. Carey, I don't know how much of the Port of Manchester you know about. They own a boat launch and a parking lot and a small park. That's it. They don't own anything else. They don't do anything else. Meetings last 30 minutes at the most. You know, there's no conflict. There's just nothing that goes on there.
Well, in response to that, I would just say, just be aware that if the conflicts do arise, just be prepared to,
I would recuse myself from voting on anything that was conflicting with the Port of Allyn.
Right. Well, thank you. And again, we can simply agree to disagree. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else?
I just
Brian.
had one. I'm sorry.
I see Brian. Brian, you're muted. Can you unmute yourself?
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Can we ask where people live or they reside at, please, Commissioner?
Say again.
Can
Well,
we ask where our people that are responding, because we ask where they reside at or where they live, their permanent residents. I think we know most people.
we haven't done that in the past.
Yes, we have.
not-
And I would appreciate Mr. Peterson. Does he reside in Mason County?
Oh, Ted, that's such a silly effort at a gotcha question. Actually, you may not know, but I just purchased a property on.
But
Lake
do you
Route-
reside here? And
Yes,
I
we
know
do.
it's a silly question, but have you resided here?
It is a silly question. I've got a lot of businesses and a lot of holdings.
No.
Hey,
It's
Ted,
residents.
Excuse me,
Don't
Commissioner Jackson, please, that's enough. We have public comment. He has the right to make a comment.
And I
Go
have a
ahead,
right
Brian,
to
that's enough.
raise a question.
Yeah.
Yes, you do,
Chairperson.
but we all know who Brian is and where he lives and the businesses that he owns. I think.
And
that's
where
enough.
does he live, Commissioner?
351 Mountain View Drive, Tahuya on Lake Wooten. You want to come up tonight? I'll buy you a beer. Come on up. So, hey, anyway, before I was interrupted with that silliness, can we, or maybe you were referring to Mr. Carey chiming in on Port of Allyn stuff since he lives in
Tahuya.
Toronto. I don't know. So, hey, I just wanted to know if there was going to be public comment at the end regarding Sweetwater Creek.
Yes, there will be. There's
Okay.
always public comment, and we can even discuss some of that later too. That's
Sure.
on the agenda.
So I'll go ahead and wait.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sheridan, you had something to say?
Yeah, I was just gonna make the same point that just for the record, before all that happened with the Port of Manchester, he discussed it with me separately as well as the rest of the commissioners, and I have had no issue with it at all. In fact, quite frankly, I see anything like that iron sharpens iron, and we can improve and learn to do things better and better. However that comes to play out is a benefit to us as the Port of Allyn. Thank you.
Okay, and I appreciate that, John. And I really can't stress the importance of, by knowing that he checked with you, or with the commission, that makes me feel a lot better because we did not know that. And so again, by hearing that, now, it makes me feel a lot better. Even though I still disagree, at least it tells me that you're going through mechanics of making sure there are no conflicts of interest. So thanks.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Anybody else for public comment?
Yes, ma'am. This is Ken Van Busker.
Oh, thank you, Ken. I'm sorry your hand was raised and I missed it. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. After listening to this conversation, I was curious, commissioners, have you done a performance rating of the executive director in the last 3 years?
Yes.
Okay, good enough. Commissioner Scott, Mr. Coppola, I would like you to acknowledge that you received my phone messages and picture this weekend of the.
I did not receive any phone messages. I did get a voicemail or email.
Yeah, I just got my phone today and I just finally
Okay.
opened it. So I saw the tree.
Yeah.
I saw the tree.
Awesome. Well, I would have appreciated acknowledgement. I also want you to acknowledge the receipt of the email I sent and the attachments I sent yesterday that included the February 22nd email. And I want to thank Travis Merrill and Commissioner Jackson for calling me about that tree. And I want to thank Commissioner Sheridan, who came down and looked at it with me. I respectfully disagree with his assessment that the tree is not an immediate threat.
I shouldn't say that.
I'm sorry.
No, I'll wait till you're done. It's not what I said.
Please don't interrupt me, sir.
All right.
I respectfully disagree with your assessment that tree is not an immediate threat or hazard. And I told everyone that I'd be happy to mitigate the hazard myself at no cost to the port. I think your insurance company and the RCO should do an immediate and thorough inspection of that property. That tree is one of at least 20 hazardous trees on that property. I would like you to please return the property to the DNR RCO for compliance failures. Better yet, perhaps the port should surplus the property to Warschgott so that they can do a full and complete realignment and restoration of Sweetwater Creek to its natural state, getting rid of the water wheel and the 60-year-old earthen dam. I don't know if you're aware, but it sounds like we're going to get the widening project, another 35 million in the budget, and I think that would be a good time to do it. The water rights on the Sweetwater Park have been abandoned. Reinstituting the water wheel and pond on that property would require water rights and precious publicly owned water resources. This was discussed and addressed and mitigated in the recently approved Belfair EIS after comments from both the Squaxin and Skokomish tribes as well as myself. Speaking of the EIS, I was disappointed that the port did not comment on the EIS or the 2004 plan update or take a position on the sewer. I informed you several times over the last couple of years of the opportunity to comment. Commissioner Scott, you were one of the stakeholders that was interviewed as a Port of Allyn commissioner. A quorum of commissioners was at the last sewer meeting, yet the port did not take a position. Commissioner Scott, you testified, but you weren't in favor of it. And by the way, your mic was hot while Mr. Carey was testifying. The port should take a unanimous position in favor of the sewer extension and pursue property to site a business park. And last month, the executive director stated that your attorney had advised the port that you may have a potential lawsuit for damages against people who submitted letters to the Board of County Commissioners if your water system funding is delayed. You folks actually have a policy about that. I'd sure like to see it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You ran over 1 minute and 17 seconds. Anybody else?
Chairwoman, could I speak to address something there with my walkthrough with him, please?
Yes.
Yeah, so I had said I could that tree did not. It just went for a while, just the way it is. It's not an imminent threat. And just to put it in context, there were some rotten trees that we looked at that are also a threat that need to be addressed and looked and pulled down. I didn't say that it wasn't a liability. It anytime a tree can fall and hurt somebody, but we're having this conversation with him and his granddaughter. So I mean, I didn't see them running for their lives at the same time, for whatever it's worth. And we're standing right by the tree. But yes, we need to take all the trees down that have they're rotten, and that particular one has a wedge in it. That's what I want to speak to for the record.
Could I readdress his comment there? John, you were very gracious to come down there and look at it with me. That tree has a face cut in it and a wedge in it.
Yes.
I knew which way the tree was going to go if it goes. I told you I would be happy to fall that tree. It needs to be mitigated. And if you don't think it's an imminent threat, I would encourage you to reach out to your insurance company, and I'll walk in there with them.
You know,
okay?
I'm going to speak to this matter one more time. I'm already a bit disappointed because we're splitting hairs here. I said it needs to go. It's a liability. That's all. And I mean, I said that it was not an imminent threat, but the point is that I concurred that it was a liability, Mr. Van Buskirk. So let's just move on, and we as a port will address it. I agree with that. Okay.
Okay. And we move on?
Yes, Chairperson, we have a representative for the Salmon Group, Mark LeBeur. Hey, can we listen to him, please? I'm sure he doesn't listen.
We do have consent agenda items first. That's on the agenda. We need to stick to the agenda. And if it would only be a moment or two, do I hear an approval of the, let's do the minutes for February 7th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of February 7th.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second the motion.
Any question? Okay, anybody in favor or all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nay? All, that's approved. Action items A, B, C, D, and E. Do I hear a motion to approve the action items?
Chairperson, I've gone through every voucher. I will ask that we approve action A, B, and C.
There's D and E, except there is a correction with D.
All the vouchers I have gone through. So yes, A, B, D, C, E. I'll make a motion to approve.
With the correction on D.
Correct.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I second the motion for all 5 vouchers.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Next would be the commissioners' reports. Would you know, we've already approved the agenda as it is. So I would suggest that we stick with the agenda, and I appreciate the salmon enhancement person. If you be patient, we'll go ahead and make this quick and get through some of this. Unless everybody wants to move forward. I mean, with them.
Make a change. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would prefer to have the salmon enhancement go first, and then we could get Mr. Laverne off this meeting and just present what he's been and the group has been going through, and then we go through our regular meeting.
So maybe make a motion to change the order.
Yes, I'll make a motion to change the order to have the North Mason, or excuse me, North Case Salmon Enhancement Group or go first.
To be
I'll
in the
second.
position of 6, we'll say 6A or 6. Okay.
Yeah.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that motion for the sake of it being proper. It's so that we can get on with our business matters without them having to deal with ours. Yep.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I so move. So thank you very much. Mark,
All
how do I
right.
pronounce your name again?
Bet. Thank you very much. I'm Mark La Revere. I'm
La
a
Revere. Thank
resident
you.
of Grapeview, and I'm here representing the the Case Inlet Fisheries Task Force. So we actually have developed a mission statement, and we have a logo, and our work is very simple. It's focused on Case Inlet Chinook salmon populations. We want to enhance them to benefit the natural and economic ecosystems, including orca whales, the tribes, fishermen, local communities, and businesses. So I'm just here tonight representing this task force to give this port commissioner meeting an update on where we have been and where we've come and where we're at. So I'll keep it relatively brief, and then I can take a few questions afterwards. My background is I'm a professional fisheries biologist, and I'm an advisor on the group. Other members of the group include local residents in the Case Inlet area, and a couple of port commissioners, Commissioner Ted Jackson from the Port of Allyn, and Commissioner Art Whitson from the Port of Grapeview. And we've been formed for about a little over a year now and made some great progress on a couple of issues. But probably the most important one is our relationship with the Squaxin Indian tribe. And in early February this year, we had a meeting with them, with a couple of members of the tribe, of their fisheries leadership team. The Joseph Peters, the Natural Resources Policy Director, and Scott Stelzner, the Environmental Program Manager. And the information I'm going to share with you here tonight is going to be published in an abbreviated format in this coming week's Mason Shelton County Journal. So you're getting a little bit of a heads up on it. But the task that we set about was to enhance, somehow bring a Chinook fishery, sport fishery in particular, back into Case Inlet. And we quickly learned from the Department of Fish and Wildlife that in order to do that, we need to get the support of the Squaxin Indian tribe. So by having met with them now and them embracing our goals, we're a long ways down that road. Matter of fact, following that meeting, the Squaxin tribe responded to us and said that we're now able to say that Case Inlet Fisheries Task Force is working with the Squaxin Island Tribal Natural Resource Department to discuss salmon populations and hatchery production in the region. And this was advised to us early on from the Department of Fish and Wildlife that if you wanted to have more Chinook salmon in Case Inlet, you're going to have the support of the tribe. And then when the tribe and the Department of Fish and Wildlife work together to achieve this. So that's a real critical thing that's happened. Another part of our work is to benefit the local community. And by doing so, we want to communicate to the local community. So to that end, this coming summer, we're planning to have a booth, hopefully at the Port of Allyn Days and also at the Grapeview Water Festival in July. So this is just an informational booth to explain to local people, again, what we're trying to do and how we're going to go about doing it. It's not an easy task. We're hoping to somehow utilize the Coulter Creek hatchery that's at the head of North Bay, at the very head of Case Inlet. It's a limited use facility, but we think that there's a way to work it into the program that we're proposing, which right now is release of 500,000 Chinook directly into Case Inlet, so that eventually they would return to this area and be available to harvest both by sports fishermen and by the Squaxin Indian tribe. So really that's the sum total of our report and where we're at right now. We meet pretty regularly. Our next meeting is scheduled for late March. And like you, we meet via Zoom or Teams call somehow to discuss our business and go about getting support from the local group. be happy to take any questions.
I have a question. Who is releasing the Chinook salmon? Which hatchery is that from?
So Chinook hatchery production in South Puget Sound is a very complicated thing. It's actually production from a total of 4 different hatcheries. But Coulter Creek, which is the one at the head of Case Inlet, is used for part of the year, but then the fish are actually taken and released down in at the head of Bud Inlet at the chutes. Then that's where they return. They don't return back up Case Inlet. So these fish have quite a history before they're even released. They spend time at Minter Creek Hatchery over on Carr Inlet, Coulter Creek Hatchery on Case Inlet, and then ultimately down at the Deschutes River, where there is plans to build a full-size hatchery funded by the state legislature that's underway, but it's not completed yet.
Thank you. Is the Deschutes on the Washington side?
It's
right?
Tumwater, Olympia.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, I see Leanne. Sorry, go ahead.
Not a question, just a comment. After being here for 20 years and watching all the fish jumping before and all of the fisher guys out there catching fish and having it dwindle to about nothing now, it would be really neat to see them come back. It would be awesome.
We're glad to hear you say that. That's the same kind of comment we've been getting from a lot of people, and many of us individually felt that way, and thus we came together on this task force to try and make this happen.
Hi, Mark, Commissioner Sheridan. Yeah, no, it takes people like you at the grassroots level to get involved to make it happen, and then you're going to get the support. There's no question about it. So Godspeed and continue your efforts. It's going to benefit the entire community surrounding the area. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is this proposed to be an ongoing support of the Chinook salmon? Is this year after year? Is this a 10-year plan? Is this...
No, we're not to that level of planning quite yet, but in order to support, excuse me, in order to support a fishery year to year, yes, it would have to be ongoing. So what we would like to do is just blend it into the existing releases of hatchery Chinook salmon here in South Puget Sound, increase the total by 500,000 and have it occur annually. Yes. That's
great. Good luck. Good for you.
Got a question for the gentleman real quickly. Is the plan then to, if it's successful, to duplicate that throughout other streams that have been depleted in the Puget Sound area? South Puget?
No.
Okay.
Sorry. Not necessarily. This is very much just focused on Case Inlet right now.
Okay.
So Mark, if you don't mind, I could jump in with a little bit of the, we've been working on this for 2 years, and we've brought in some very experienced and knowledgeable people. Mark is definitely one of the people that we rely on, his trust, experience, and his contacts. So, and Leanne, you brought it up great. We used to have a run in North Bay. It's been depleted. Now we're talking with our tribal nations and Fish and Wildlife and our federal to try to bring back something to North Bay. And this group of people have dedicated a lot of work and a lot of effort. And it's not only Mark, some other people that have done some amazing jobs to just make the contacts. So we're trying to do it slowly, we're trying to do it right. It's all on our free time. And one of the big things is we would like to do is ensure that the our group or this group has a seat at the table at the Allyn days. We're already going to have it at the Grapeview days, but just to tell people what we're trying to do. And you remember all of us remember when we used to have chum salmon, sockeye salmon jumping up and down in front of Leonard Caves out here in Allyn, and how many fishermen we brought in and how much money we brought in, not only to Leonard Caves at that time, but it was a lot of fun to just see the salmon jumping around. So we're dealing with not only the regulatory, we're dealing with non-native versus native. We're trying to cover the bases, and Mark has a biology background to direct us in that position. So I'm very proud to be a part of this group. This is my free time. It's something I believe in. So we have the Port of Grapeview, we have the Port of Allyn, and we have some other folks that are trying to bring this back. So thank you, Mark, very much. I can't thank you enough. So
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you
thank
very
you to all
much.
too.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Okay, next on the agenda is the commissioner's reports. Who would like to go first?
I'll go ahead and chop in if you want, for starters. So the Port of Allyn meeting, regular monthly meeting I attended, of course, 7th of February, and then I was at my first Mason Transit Authority meeting on the 15th of February. And then then today, I had the opportunity to walk through with the concerns that Mr. Van Buskirk was concerned about. Some of those concerns I definitely share. I mean, we need to clean it up. That's kind of a no-brainer, but also we need to take care of any of the issues there with that. There are trees that are really rotten in there. And even though we don't want people walking through there and just, it's public property. So it's kind of a oxymoron that, you know, somebody who goes in there and we don't take care of that. I really, we need to get on that and just knock some trees down. And it's not a big, huge knock. There's what I could see there without we didn't go any farther up the hill. At least some of the obvious trees, have somebody come in with us and take a couple trees down. They're rotten and they're gone. In addition to that one with the wedge in it. And what's weird about that is that cut in that tree didn't look very old, but I don't know how long it's been there, which I found interesting. But we should definitely address that issue pretty much right away. That's all.
I know about that cut and I know how it happened, and I'll have a conversation with you off record about that.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Thanks.
Yeah, no question.
Yeah, it's not old, not super old.
No, that was done on purpose to block access to that property, of which I own back there too.
No, it wasn't.
Stop.
No, it wasn't.
Stop. Hey, excuse me. Let's all speak in turn here. I'm talking about a tree that needs to come down that has a wedge in it, and we need to take that tree down, not the one that's already fallen. So for the record, okay. And all right, well, that's all. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, next, Ted, would you like to go?
Yeah, Chairman, the only meeting I attended was that I charged to the port was a general meeting. I did attend the Belfair UGA and the Belfair Sewer that I did not charge to the port. I also attended a couple of salmon enhancement meetings, and I did not charge to the port. So the only one I charged to the port was a general meeting.
Okay, very good. I attended the regular port meeting and on the 7th, and then February 10th was an EDC meeting. No new update on that. And just for the record too, when I attended on February 15th, the EIS rezone hearing, I did not represent the port. I guess I should be blasting about that because I don't speak for the port, and I mentioned to a port on it, but again, when we've had the port meeting, everybody at last said that they didn't have enough information. And so I know enough that over all these years, I can't speak for the port unless we all agree. So we did not. So I am a taxpayer in this UGA. I am in the UGA. I have property in the UGA. And also I attended March 1st, the public hearing for the sewer extension. I am also on the sewer. I have property on the sewer. So I have a right to speak as well. I'm addressing you and what you had to say, Ken. And then for March 3rd, they had a Department of Natural Resource focus group meeting, and I just wanted to say there's a camp host training for Tahuya River Horse Camp on April 16th. And for Green Mountain Horse Camp, there's a camp host training on April 30th. And there's Tahuya Forest Cleanup Day is April 23rd. That's located at the old Oak Patch place off of Effendall. And I will be providing box lunches for everybody. There's usually about 30 to 50 people. They bring in their own trucks and their own garbage, bags, and they really help out the forest a lot. That's it for me. Okay, next is security officers report.
All right. February 22nd, 9:40 p.m. The waterfront gate had been damaged or altered so it could not be locked. The U-style clamps that hold the pivot point on the gate were spun as to not allow the gate to come together for locking purposes. Also, the large sign that tells everyone that vehicles can be impounded after dark was lying flat on the ground like someone had cut the ties that secure it to the fencing. The gate was promptly repaired in short order by dawn the next morning. And that is the security officer's report.
All right, next is your executive director's report.
All right. Financial issues, revenues, and expenses are performing as expected for this time of year. We're beginning to book both weddings and moorage for the summer months. This month's budget versus actual report was included in your meeting packet. We finally worked through the payroll reimbursement issue with RCO and should see those reimbursements shortly. We do have expenses related to the new well, but these come out of the water fund, not the general fund. Public records and litigation issues. As part of the litigation we're involved in, making sure all our I's are dotted and T's are crossed, processing the almost 50 public records requests we're dealing with, as required, running everything by our attorneys prior to responding, which is why our legal cost is running as high as they are. One tactic the requester is using is to not send the public records request to the public records officers, but to send them as part of individual emails, voicemail, and/or text messages directly to you all. I believe all of you have experienced some form of this at some point. The requester knows better than to do this, and this appears to be an obvious tactic to intentionally try and create an inadvertent violation of the Public Records Act. Both he and his attorney have been told to send all public records requests directly to the public records officer. However, since this is still occurring, please be vigilant in monitoring your phones and email, and if you get one of these, please forward them on to Leanne immediately. Our attorney has also advised us that if the litigant contacts any of you directly, be it via either your port and/or personal cell phones or email, you should not respond in any manner whatsoever. All communication concerning the litigation at this point must go through the attorneys. If it is about a subject not covered by the litigation, you can talk to him. But if the conversation takes even the slightest turn towards litigation issues, you are to stop the discussion immediately. Update to the comprehensive scheme. We posted the community survey for all our comprehensive scheme updates on our Facebook page and on our website. We've also posted copies of the link on every Facebook group covering Mason County and sent a press release to all the local media that included the link in the survey. There was a mention of this in a story in the Journal on Thursday, but the link was not included. However, we have only had a small number of surveys returned. We've looked for cost-effective alternative ways to increase our outreach efforts, but the truth is it doesn't appear there's a lot of public interest in this issue. The one method we haven't used is direct mail due to the cost, which would be about $4,500 per mailing, plus the cost of design and printing whatever mailing pieces we did, which I estimate to be around $1,000. I'm hesitant about doing that, not only because of the cost, but because the return rate of direct mail is less than 4%, which I don't believe justifies the cost. This is on your agenda. Excuse me. This is on your agenda for discussion tonight. We need a decision to either continue using social media for outreach, spend the money for direct mail, or just move forward with what we have and schedule another public hearing and adopt the plan. We originally intended to submit the update to RCO on or before March 1st, although it isn't a requirement since our next official update isn't due until March 1st, 2024. While we want to have an updated plan on file with RCO just to keep us eligible for grants, there aren't any grants available for potential projects we're looking at right now, except Sweetwater Park, which is included in the plan we have on file with RCO. So there's no immediate pressure to submit anything. Water system issues. We continue moving forward on the new well and have received approval from the state for the booster pump. Now we just need permits from the county. We're going to install the booster pump up near the tank to equalize water pressure with the rest of the system for the existing homes and the others that are going to be built up there. As you know, there's federal funding available for the bailout money the state will receive, which will be dispersed by the county via the SEDS process. I had a nice conversation with the new county administrator about it and submitted a letter to him formally requesting these funds. I copied all of you on that letter. Also updated our SEDS application. It's my understanding the county commissioners have agreed to include our well project on the list of projects they will consider for funding. And as Mr. Carey mentioned, we did have another water line break, but it was here at the park and it has since been repaired. Damage claims. As you're aware, we had some severe damage to the finger pier on the dock during the October 25th storm. I turned the claim into Endurus and called Marine Floats, the same company that built the replacement dock, to get an estimate on the repairs. Meanwhile, we've closed that section of the dock to boaters and pedestrians. Marine Floats has given us a bid that's basically time and material. Endurus wanted a firm number for the job, but has agreed to allow Marine Floats to move forward. I've signed a contract with Marine Floats and they should begin work shortly. Second claim is for the theft of the wire powering the marina. We got a bid for the repairs from the same contractor that did the original installation. Endurus has approved it and paid the claim directly to the contractor. However, before we do the repair, we need to be able to secure access to the electrical equipment so it can't be turned off simply by cutting the lock. Otherwise, it's just a matter of time before this happens again. What we're doing is completely enclosing the kiosk and installing steel doors with deadbolts to access the electrical equipment, as well as using stainless steel locks on the equipment cabinets themselves. We estimate the cost of this to be around $5,000, including Don's time. The construction should hopefully be complete this week, and the electrician is scheduled to start on March 15th. Security camera issues. The new cameras and equipment have been received and will be installed this week. However, the two multi-sensor units were on back order due to the chip shortage, but are now in production. We should have them before the end of the month. They'll be installed as soon as we receive them. Redistricting. We have to come up with a plan for redistricting by November, and we'll need a consultant that works on that sort of thing to do the plan according to what the state demands. I don't expect we'll see a lot of changes since it's my understanding the district's population numbers were cut off at December 31st, 2021. Also, all the new construction in Belfair won't be complete and have people living there by the time we have to have the plan finalized. We can do it sooner rather than later, so we aren't pushing the deadline. I should have more to report on this next month. Website updates. We're still looking at other websites, seeking ideas about how we can make our site and make navigation easier, as well as increase functionality. The main issue is making the site easier to navigate and the ability to make and pay for reservations online, which we need to coordinate with our credit card vendor. Old business. Oyster House, nothing new to report other than the new sidings have been installed and looks great. There's still Tyvek covering the windows, keeping the moisture out of the interior until the windows have been restored and reinstalled. We're still in a holding pattern with the platform until we can get the Army Corps permit. Once we have that, we can put the pile driving construction of the platform for the building out to bid. Sweetwater Park. Mindy Harlow called me and we discussed the idea of hiring a professional grant writer that the Salmon Center will pay for to move this project forward. We agreed that Kathleen Baranis of Grant Solutions would be the best person for this. She has a great track record and has worked with the Salmon Center before and worked with me at the city. You all may remember we talked to Kathleen about what Brownfield grants would be available when we were at the retreat in Leavenworth last year. It's the same person. She sent me a draft agreement, which in my view is quite reasonable. And Mindy is here and will talk about this and will comment on the Alia grant questions raised by Mr. Van Buskirk. We also put some ecology blocks on the Highway 3 side of Sweetwater Park property to keep people from accessing it with vehicles and abandoning them there. This has been a problem in the past and has the potential to create a serious liability for the port. After we did that, we had a complaint from Mr. Van Buskirk who claims we're restricting public access to the property. That's not exactly correct. People can walk between the blocks. They simply can't park on the site. Also, North Mason School District Superintendent Dana Rosenbach told Commissioner Jackson she wished someone had advised her we were doing that. Seems the main problem for her is that some of the parents picking up school kids use a portion of that area to do so. I'll take responsibility for installing the blocks and we can move them back a few feet to accommodate the parents if that's your choice on how to handle this. But I strongly believe it's in our best interest to not remove them completely. Mr. Van Buskirk also stated in his complaint there's a lot of debris on the property. There is an old couch someone dumped there, but the majority of the trash is not on our side of the property line, but on the adjacent property. Cost of cleaning that up would become an in-kind part of the match funding for any grant we received for the project once we took ownership of that parcel. Perhaps Ms. Harlow can help explain this in greater detail when this comes up on the agenda. All ports meeting, next meeting set for April 25th. Criminalization of the Marina rules, nothing new to report yet, but once the new security cameras are installed, Mr. Jackson and myself will start trying to move this forward again. Also on the all ports meeting, I don't know if you are aware, but longtime Port Commissioner Jack Bailey of the Port of Brownsville has resigned. So that's my report. Happy to answer any questions.
Commissioners, any questions for Larry?
I don't, but hey, Larry, one question. How long has Jack Bailey been serving? Maybe you and
More than 20 years.
you think it'd be nice, as I've been a port commissioner and Commissioner Scott has been a port commissioner, he has been one of the true nice people that I've dealt with. Would it be nice if we just did something for him as a Port of Allyn? And I'll defer to Commissioner Scott, but when I came up, all right, thank you, Commissioner Scott. And maybe we could just do a declaration that the Port of Allyn appreciated his term of service as a Port of Brownsville commissioner. He is a true nice gentleman. So
yeah, I've worked with him on the WPPA Marina Committee and very knowledgeable, nice guy, very outspoken, but that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No. But maybe Commissioner Scott and Commissioner Sheridan, he was one of the fun people, but and I'm sure Leanne and the executive director would all agree it'd be nice to do something for the Port of Allyn to appreciate his service as a port commissioner. So,
I can put together a proclamation and for the next meeting, and maybe if you all want to do some kind of gift, we could figure something out.
Yeah, I'd be, and I don't mean to speak for the other commissioners, but I'd be glad to do something for them. So.
I didn't know the commissioner, but as someone who served as long as he did, he had to do something right. And also, that being said, that your history with the knowledge of what you know about him, I would support that with the Port Allyn, with the executive director and the chairman, for sure.
Commissioner Scott spent more time with them, serving with them, and she introduced me to him, and I just appreciate his friendship and his knowledge. So
he's really been pretty instrumental in a lot of the conferences that I've gone to, because he always has really intelligent questions and all that. But you know, the good thing about Jack is that he really took it seriously and learned, and even when some of his other commissioners weren't, you know, he was just right on target all the time. He was great. So I appreciate Commissioner Jackson that you brought that up, that we should do something, because he's been really helpful. So we'll do that.
So I don't mean to interrupt, but Executive Director, this is going to fall on you again. But I'll be more than happy to help you with whatever we can do to recognize his service as a Port Commissioner. So.
Well, I'm happy to do it. I've known Jack a long time, and
Okay.
Let's do it. So when would be appropriate to discuss or talk about eco blocks being moved? Is
Well,
that later?
it's on the agenda.
Yeah, it's on our agenda. So I just want to go through it. Item 10A, we've already had the presentation from the Salmon Recovery Task Force.
Okay.
Next is the ecology block. So now we'll put that, go ahead and deal with that right now.
All right. Can I speak to that
hang
right
on
now?
just a second, Brian. I see your hand up.
Okay.
Go ahead, Commissioner Sheridan.
So my point is that I'd like to see those. In fact, early on, I spoke to my concern about being too close to the highway. I didn't know what that was going to look like. To give a combination for different reasons, that could be an issue, not entirely knowing what those issues would be, that we really need to make sure we had room, whether it be a freaking semi that wants to pull over there or whatever, for the night. I'd like to see it go back about 10 feet. So that's what I got to say to that.
Did you have anything that you
Yes, I did. This morning I went and walked it off. I want to make sure that the public understands what piece of property that the port's responsible for. And so there's a historic trail that goes up from the parking lot up to the elementary school. And I did speak with the school superintendent this morning. And I think we need to bring those blocks back to the historical trail and just bring it back. And I am concerned if there's any fire, law enforcement. We have never talked to them about that, and just protect the property that the port actually is supervising right now. But if you look, there is a historic trail where parents would drop their children off when the bus routes were full. And it's a good trail to get up to the elementary school, and the parents could watch their kids get up there. And it's still worn down trail. So if we were to move them right at the edge of that, and then I think the commissioners, the executive director, need to talk to the law enforcement and firefighters to make sure they have access in case there's something that goes on up there. Because believe me, I know we can't run through ecology blocks with those brush guards. So.
No.
But I think if we move them back, I think when I paced it off this morning, it's going to be about 20 feet to that trail. And then that gives us room to
was that your foot mark? Was that your foot mark that rubbed against there?
Yes, sir. That was at 6 o'clock this morning. So
okay.
Yeah.
I saw the size 9.5. I knew it was you. I don't know.
Well, it's actually 8.5, but I slid a little bit. So, but yeah, if we could do it there, I think the parents and I think the school will agree that it gives enough room for parents to drop their kids off, with that school being so busy to pull in and out of, that we give people enough space. And there's one other thing that Commissioner Sheridan said a couple of meetings ago, is that we have no room for our truck drivers to pull off and take a 15-minute, 20-minute nap, which has become more and more important these days. And I know, Commissioner Sheridan, you're absolutely correct, is that little space between here and Shelton is very important. There's no other space really for truck drivers just to pull off and take a 15, 20-minute nap to comply with their regulations, and then they can move forward. So I don't want to exclude them from that, We all understand that we do not want dumping there and we don't want clutter there, but I do think we need to accommodate the truckers, the parents, and some other people that use that for a positive sense. So that's my opinion. So.
Okay.
Okay, when I saw that they were up, I was kind of surprised myself. I talked to Larry about it, and I think there was a misunderstanding with our maintenance guy. At least I hope that was what it is, because I didn't think we should have them. And just some of the concerns that you had, Ted, like, you know,
Firefighting.
people do need, and you too, John, we do need places to park, and it hasn't been a lot of people that have dumped their RVs. You know, I think this is the first time ever that I've seen an RV get dumped there in all these years. So
Right.
Now that we've got them there, maybe we can keep them there, but I think moving them way back, even if necessary, remove them. But that's only my thought.
Well,
but I think we need to talk about it more.
Yeah. So one final note on that, Chairwoman, is yeah. So in the future, when we're going to do something like that, because we have to have a balance. You know, we know that we don't want to deal with problems, right? And we don't want bad things to happen. But sometimes that's part of life, to deal with problems, because it suits and it serves other people, other things. And that speaks to another issue. And I really want us to clean, I mean, not just want, we need to clean up that place up there and knock some trees down. So I want to speak to that later when the opportunity presents itself a little bit more in a very forceful way, I guess you could say. Okay.
So Commissioner or Chairperson, can I ask Mr. Coppola, how much do you think it would bring? How much do you think it would cost the Port of Allyn to bring those blocks back? There's a trail that goes up, and I tracked it off. It's going to be about 20 feet. It's still going to give us a buffer on our piece of property. But how much do you think it's going to cost to start moving that stuff, those blocks?
It won't be much.
Okay.
You know, probably a few $100s, maybe up to 1,000, but that's all.
Well,
I mean, it's just going to take, you know, like a dump truck pushing them back.
Okay.
You know, something with a, you know, big truck with a big bumper that can move something that heavy. I mean, that's how they put them down there, I think. So.
And like I said, I don't want to speak for the other commissioners, but I do think we need a buffer there between the highway. That's a space.
What's there right now is it's the width of one traffic lane.
Yes.
But, you know, if you want them back further, I'll get them pushed back, whatever you want.
I think we should. I mean, that's just my opinion. But we can take some comment. I think Brian and Ken have something to say too.
Okay.
So once they give some comment, then let's make some decision on it, if you would. Brian, you try to speak first.
Oh, it's okay. On that issue, I really don't have you know, it blocks my easement to my piece of property back there, but that doesn't bother me at all. It's totally fine. So whatever is best for the port, I'm supportive of.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah.
Okay. Ken, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Commissioner. I just wanted to comment that I wasn't complaining about the blocks denying access to the property. What I was concerned about was the no trespassing signs that deny access to the property that are posted there. And in regards to the placement of those blocks, I shared with Mr. Sheridan today that in the grant proposal that the Salmon Enhancement Group did for the right-of-way there, they said it was 60 feet from the center line. And I showed John about where that was at, and that seems to be about the right spot for it to be. I don't think that's the actual right-of-way, but that's what they have written in the document.
I believe that's the whole width, Mr. Van Buskers, that we both addressed. That's not how that works. That's
no,
crazy.
but I showed you what was written in the Salmon Group's application, didn't I?
It's just a they
Yeah.
can adjust on that. I mean, if that, you're gonna find
Okay,
little
but
things. to clean.
that's where we looked at, and that would address the trail going up to the elementary school, and that would give enough room for a truck to park off of there. So I think that's a good idea to move it to that location. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, commissioners, what would you like to direct the executive director to do?
I would like to go ahead and if with no further discussion, make a motion to put them back far enough that people can pull off to the side. I mean, the magic mark is going to be access to that trail. I mean, God forbid there's a fire, law enforcement to do whatever. The public is welcome to be walking up there, but we don't want people going up there anytime soon without us cleaning it up. So I'm going to make two motions. I'll start with one. One is we move those ecology blocks back.
Do I hear a second?
Second, I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And the second motion I'm going to make, if I may, Chairwoman, is that we clean that place up there. And I personally want to go up there with whatever other commissioners and maintenance people, and we make a plan. My motion is we make a plan. That's my motion, to clean up that mess up there on our Port of Allyn property and take trees down that are liability. It's a port property, public property, so that's our responsibility. We need to do that. That's my motion.
And you know what, Commissioner Sheridan, I agree 100%. I wouldn't mind having an executives session up there, and we can do, I know trees a lot. So I agree with you 100%, so I'll second it.
All right.
I see there's some discussion, Brian.
Yeah, so hey, I just want to kind of clarify one thing, and again, supportive of whatever the port wants to do. But part of the property that you're referring to is my property.
Right.
And it's 100 by 400. Part of that Mr. Van Buskirk or whoever is walking up there through, my property actually goes into the pond. So you're walking through my property to get there, which again, I don't care. It's not a big deal. I just want to point out that there's a reason that I didn't get that property cleaned up. I acquired the property for the sole purpose of trying to preserve it for making sure that this park could go through. My wife and I had a discussion, decided to do it and invest the money to do so that we could preserve it for the community. So we've worked on this plan. My wife and I have worked on the plan for 10 years on this park, 10, 12 years maybe. And the sole reason that we didn't clean it up is because then you take away the benefit of the in-kind match in the grant writing, and Mindy can talk about that. So I talked to the neighbor. Neighbor's a good dude, relative, I think, of Ken's as well. And Mr. Shoemaker, good guy, but was concerned about the mess. There was definitely some mess over there on the school district Shinglehine property too, because they went up on my property and then brought in another trailer to the left on the port property now, the Shinglehine property. So certainly that could be cleaned up. But I went out and talked to several businesses that are still, I've revisited with them lately, they're still completely on board to help clean up that property for an in-kind value for the granting process. So I just want to make sure you know that part of that property is still a little bit of a mess, and I know it, and I'm sorry, but there's a reason that it happened. Usually I would go in on my own property and I would clean it all up. And those of you that know me know that's kind of how I work. But in that case, the whole purpose was to support the park and the granting process to support the park. And that's why it's still like that. So
Commissioner Scott, we had a motion before that. We had a motion to have a discussion about the piece of property that the Port of Allyn actually owns that Commissioner Sheridan made. Can we address that, please?
Yeah, Ted, I was just trying to clarify the which property's which.
So, thank you. And so I'll reiterate, I'll be more specific with my motion. And I appreciate that, Dr. Peterson, your comments. And we will totally make sure that we're just dealing stuff with our Port of Allyn property. I saw the stakes. I'm not looking at a survey when I see the stakes, but I certainly have looked at the mapping. At that point, we'll make sure we're doing stuff on our own property. And I want to make sure we're also not shooting ourselves in the foot, but I'm making a motion that we need to clean it up and we need to get a bid for the cleanup. And then we can do another motion later on that says, bam, let's do it. But that right now, I'm just making a motion that we get a bid to clean that place up. And then if we have to do an executive session, my motion is we do so.
Well, we have one more comment from Ken.
Okay.
So
All right.
Ken, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not sure the purpose of an executive session. I would think that would want to be open to the public, but for what I can offer, I think you're going to have to remove that willow tree that's at the base of the hill in order to do that.
No.
The one that fell. And I also think that I too have had a lot of experience, not only falling trees, but identifying hazard trees. And I think from what I've walked through that property, I've walked it all the way up to the other North Mason School District property up above. But just on what the port owns, there's probably a total of 20 hazard trees. And I'm happy to help with that. I'm happy to help you haul some of that trash out. I picked up a bag of the garbage with my granddaughter today on port property and hauled it out. So thank you.
Well, I really
offering my help to clean it up.
So Chairperson, let me amend the motion. If we can select a date.
He has to amend. He has to amend. John has to amend.
Well, I made the motion.
Well, I thought John did.
No, I made the motion and John commented. So what I would suggest is that we amend my motion. Leanne, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but is that we open it up to the public for public comment, but we go up there as port commissioners and we're going to have to do it in a public meeting format. And we walk the property, identify anything that's hazardous to the community. And I would suggest not only that is to the school district, and we identify either trees. I'm not a bad person when it comes to trees. I know what is bad and what's good. And we walk the property and we invite the public.
I'm just trying not, may I speak to that matter again, Chairwoman? I just don't want to turn this into a bureaucratic gridlock. I actually made the motion and then you were seconding it as long as we had an executive session at the property.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. So I just wanted, we got to be, we got to be on that. So I'm not going to make any amendments to my motion. And thank you, Chairwoman. But what I will say is, and we'll see where we go with this, is I make a motion that we get a bid for that cleanup and we look at the access to it from the other side of the property. I don't want to see us. I'm just going to say, I'm make a motion to get a bid on the cleanup and I want professionals to do it. Otherwise we expose liability, okay, to volunteers and things like that. And, people that are bonded, insured, and we don't have to spend a whole garbage load of money, but we're going to do this right. And then we can get with Mr. Peterson and the neighboring community, if we have to get access around the backside without going and knocking that willow tree down. It's so beautiful to get up there. I walked that trail, Commissioner Jackson. It's just, and I must say, I'd never spent much time up there before, but it's pretty. I like the old coming in. So my motion, to reiterate that, is that we get a bid on the cleanup on that property and we look at alternatives to access that property. That's my motion.
Okay. Do I hear a second on that one?
Do we have a discussion?
Well, after you second it.
Or not.
I'm not going to second it.
Okay. All right. Hearing no second. Nothing's on the floor. Let's move on.
You can second.
Well, that's true. I could. So let's go ahead and do that. I just don't know, again, this has been in the process for so long and we do need to clean it up, and we will.
My motion is to get a bid. And then
Okay.
when we get a bid, we can do the final approval on it. So you've got an out there, Commissioner Jackson, for the record.
I'll second it.
I asked for discussion and then.
Okay, I'll second it. Now we can discuss. Go ahead.
So what I would ask is that I know Commissioner Sheridan has walked the property today. I don't know if the three of us have walked the property together to decide what needs to go on. And I would prefer that the three of us walk the property. That's why I was talking executive session. And if we need the public there to chime in, that's fine. But I think the three of us, because I've walked it plenty of times, I think the three of us need to walk it in agreement.
Okay, I'll make another motion. So we've got a motion that's been approved to get a bid. I'll make another motion, all three commissioners.
Well, it hasn't been, we haven't approved your first motion. So
Sorry.
hang on.
Sorry.
So hang on.
Got
But
it.
Larry, Commissioner Jackson, you keep saying executive session. We can't, it would just be a meeting. That's all. It'd just be a special meeting.
Let's just have a special meeting with the public to walk the property and discuss it in the support of Allyn property, no other property.
Right.
And let's just discuss what needs to go on up there.
Okay, so there's a motion on the table. Let's go ahead and either approve or disapprove. Oh, I'm sorry, Leanne has a question. Go ahead, Leanne, you're muted.
Yeah, just to clarify, we don't need a motion to get bids or anything. We are bound by law to get bids.
Okay.
And I can say Ken has taken trees down for us in the past and he's really good, but he can be part of the process just fine. That's all.
Excellent. Well, there's still a motion, even though we don't need one, but it's on the table. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Okay. Motion carries.
Okay, so more discussion.
So about meeting on the property, I think it's a great idea.
I do too.
Let's save that till the end of the meeting and we'll make, when we do our next meetings, let's go ahead and talk about that because we have a full agenda still. So let's move
Right.
forward.
Thank you, Chairwoman.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. Next on the agenda is the discussion of the Alia grant in the Sweetwater Park. So Mindy, I think if you would like to speak up about that, thank you is she still here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you for hanging in there. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness sakes.
of course. No problem at all. I just going through a little bit of history here to update commissioners in case there's confusion about the acquisition of the Sweetwater Creek parcels. Just wanted to do a little bit of review. So back in 1997, the school district applied for funds to acquire 2 parcels from Dr. Schindelheim, which is why we've kind of called the property that the port owns right now, the Schindelheim property. They were successful in receiving those funds to acquire the 5 acres, and then the 5 acres that are located just to the east of that 5 acres was donated by Dr. Schindelheim, which made up the match for the grant. So I sent the grant agreement over to Larry, but it was right before the meeting started, just so you guys would have it for reference. But within that grant agreement that the school district signed on to, there is a project description. And that project description describes what was to happen on the property once the school district acquired it. And so later on, if you want to look, it's on page 15 of the grant. It's the scope of work page. So the 3rd paragraph there talks about acquiring the property, boundary line survey, fencing, and then the existing driveway would be graded and gravelled. And so it was graded and gravelled. And then the future development of the site will include trail construction to connect the pedestrian pathways from the elementary school through the Sweetwater Creek property, which happened. So we, every year we put eggs within the RSI that's located on Sweetwater Creek, and school kids travel over to the creek every year to release salmon that are in their aquarium within their classroom. So that part of the grant happened, as well as the acquisition. And then the next sentence in the scope of work talks about future development. It says future development may also include fish ladders and or recreation of the water wheel, recreation of the water wheel to produce electricity. So there's a may, it's, you know, it doesn't have to happen, but that was definitely one of the intentions of the acquisition. So I'm a little confused by the public comments from Mr. Van Buskirk about how, you know, the port isn't using the property for what it was originally intended for. Because it, you know, one of the reasons why we haven't developed it into a park and recreated the water wheel was that Mr. Van Buskirk has been opposed to the park there. So I found that a little ironic that that was in his comments. The port has been doing with the property all that was required by DNR when the school district acquired the property. So it's the school kids can still access the property on the north side to access the creek in order to release their salmon fry into the creek. So I don't see, unless I'm confused or unless Mr. Van Buskirk has some other point to bring up about that grant agreement, I don't see where the port isn't upholding the grant agreement. So.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions? Commissioners, no? Okay. Next on the agenda is the discussion about the grant writer for Sweetwater Park. Yes, John?
Yeah, no, I just want to make it very clear before we move on. It's not for just, I'm not here to create a discussion on Mindy Harlow's addressing the public, but I think what she's doing is absolutely wonderful. And I personally do not have any issue, and I'm supportive of what she's doing and what she wants to do. And I just want that for the record. That's where I'm at.
Great,
Thank
you. With the grant writer, you know, as Larry put in his executive director's report, the commissioners haven't really totally discussed about having Kathleen on it, but I do say that Kathleen has been very successful at whatever grant she has applied for. She's helped so many ports in the past. Now we wouldn't really be we would have to be, I think, the lead agency. I can't remember the proper technology, Mindy, but you, the Salmon Enhancement Group would actually be the recipient of the grant. Is that correct?
No, so you would be the recipient of the funds and would either decide to develop the park on your own or could work with us to develop the park. So you would be the lead on the project, and you could choose to work with us to implement the project.
Okay.
So as a nonprofit organization, we can't get a grant to develop a park because we don't have any insurance that we're going to be here 15, 20 years from now, and that park will need to be managed by someone. So the port as a public entity would be available in the community to manage that park.
Okay. All right. Commissioners, do you have any comments? We do need to discuss this because there has to be a decision that we need to make.
I don't know if we need to make this, excuse me, Chair, but I don't know if we need to make a decision tonight. I just found out about this grant writer on Friday evening, and I haven't really studied it. There's some things that I'm still concerned about Sweetwater Park is that we're not including the school district at all in any discussions. And I'm very concerned about that. And we're not including the police and firefighters. And I'll say it again, as a retired police chief, having a park next to an elementary school is an inherent problem. And there is problems. And we haven't discussed any of that stuff with any of the firefighters. We did have a previous commissioner with the Port of Allyn that knows that area quite a bit, and he could give us quite a bit on the fire side. But we haven't had any discussion. So I'm not inclined to approve a grant writer yet. And I'm also very concerned, or I'm also interested, I shouldn't say very concerned, about the state transportation budget, where we're talking about widening State Route 3 all the way up to 106, which is going to change that whole roadway through the elementary school all the way up to State Route 6. So, and also I'm concerned about who is going to manage that property. You know, there's been discussions before I became a port commissioner that I'm still not privy to. And I'm not ready to vote on it. I wish we'd have some more discussion on this. So I'm not ready to approve a grant writer at all. So.
I did want to clarify something too. The port would not be hiring a grant writer. So the grant writer would be someone that the Hood Canal Salmon Enhancement Group would hire, because I'm actually short-staffed right now. I'm down a project manager, and normally I would have project managers working on grant applications for my organization. And so the grant writer was just to fill my staffing gap, not something that the port would be responsible for contracting.
And I understood that, but I'm not ready as a Port of Allyn. And since we're part of that property to approve that, I would rather see that the school board, local members that actually have some say approve this. And people have told me that we've had more discussions on this park. I can't see it. So I would rather have a little bit more discussion before we move forward on this. With regards to Sweetwater Park, I totally agree that we move the ecology blocks back. We protect the property that the port actually is supposedly maintained, and then we have some more discussion.
I see you, Brian, but John, do you have some, Commissioner John?
I
Sheridan,
do. Actually, it's kind of a oxymoron, because we have this property that's already next to the school. It's more of a problem, if you want to look at it as the problem, having that property and not making improvements, not moving forward on it. It's where it's not as safe as it should be, which is why I made the motion I made. And furthermore, I would be, I mean, right now I would be ready to make a motion to move forward on this project. And I guess the only discussion I like to have is, what does that look like? The next step, I believe, other than and because Mindy Harlow works her desire off, I guess you could say, to try to make what she does work. And I think it's such a huge benefit to not just the park or whatever that looks like with us, but to the community. And we just had Mark on here talking about what he's doing. And God bless his heart, he's working real hard. But just think of the grind that's involved with all that she's doing to try to bring the salmon back in a bigger picture, and everything that's involved with that, and all the nice extra stuff that we get out of it. So that being said, I am wanting to make a motion, and I'm open to discussion of what that motion should look like and moving forward on this project. And again, we already have this property next door to the school. So it's not like what we do is going to be more of a problem. And I would want to include the school district and the local firefighter and first responders as far as what kind of access they would have. And we have to address all those issues anyway. You just don't make a park and go, gee, I wonder what happens. That's not what we would do. So I would propose to make a motion to go forward as a project with an actual plan. And then that gives us permission, if we were to go forward that motion, as to what that plan would look like before we do a final approval of the plan.
Well, let's wait on the motion.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Jackson, you had one more comment, and then Brian has his hand up.
You're correct. I'll wait.
Sorry. Okay.
Go ahead, Commissioner. You want to go? You want to go first?
No, go ahead, Brian.
So there's so many different facets to this topic, and it's really disappointing to hear, obviously Commissioner Jackson really hasn't done his homework on this, or he's forgetting some of it conveniently, but we have had discussions with the school district back from the days of Superintendent Peterson. Superintendent Peterson absolutely loved the idea and said, the only thing I'll ask you to do is put a fence up, a chain link fence 5 foot high in the first couple 100 feet, before their little salmon hatchery piece, before that place. That's all he said, is put a 5 foot high fence up along there the first couple 100 feet. That's his only concern. So we've had, this has been in front of the school board before. It's been in front of plenty of people before. It's been in front of this port commission for years. And it's been in front of the RCO for years. And these same games getting played. Now Commissioner Jackson's concerned about police. Well, I just talked to Ryan Sperling about it today, and he absolutely loves the plan. I sent him the plan. He loves it. He thinks it's so cool. The firefighters are all going to be happy about it. These are all just little red herrings to put something in the way, more roadblocks. I'm glad to hear there's 2 of you anyway that can vote for this and move forward. We need to stop these shenanigans. We need to stop all the games of how we can delay. If you don't vote forward and move forward, then it's going to be something else. And Commissioner Jackson's going to be like, oh, can we call the Humane Society? They haven't okayed it yet. And we haven't talked to the hospital district. They haven't okayed it yet. And so I just want to call out, it is what it is. This is silliness. Every time we have a granting opportunity, Mr. Van Buskirk goes and finds out who we're talking to and tries to block it in the granting opportunity, goes to the RCO and submits and this is just crazy. We've got hundreds and hundreds of people who have donated and supported this plan, and donated and supported to the idea of this park. And we've got hundreds and hundreds of people that support and have donated to in-kind. We've got people that have donated cash. We've worked on this plan and we've developed it to 30% engineering, which allows us to go for granting. This has been being worked on and fundraised for 11 or 12 years now. And all these games are absolutely silly. It's either a no growth game or it's about personalities because Brian Peterson's involved or because the Salmon Center's involved. And you know what? Grow up. Just grow up and do something for the community. Okay, forget all the games and forget all the personalities and do something for the community. Two of the 3 of you support it. Move forward without the games and shenanigans. I'm embarrassed for a couple of you on this thing. That's all I have.
Thank you, Brian. Ken, your hand is up.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm a little confused because I was looking at the grant. I believe it was the grant that was submitted in 2018, and I think I sent a copy to you. And I don't know if you looked at it, but the one I was looking at was 2 acquisitions included in with Sweetwater. One is for an additional 9 acres of school district property. And then another is a 20 acres owned by the Johnsons up on top of the hill. So I think there's a lot of, you're right, Brian, there's a lot of different cards on the table and nobody knows which deck they're playing with. Yeah, that's very, very confusing. And it's very important that we understand what it is that the grant is about. I don't know how much you're going to pay the grant writer, but she doesn't have the stellar track record. I seem to recall that she wrote the grant for phase 2 of the sewer, and that never happened. So
well, we all know why that didn't happen, Ken.
Oh, come on,
me, sir. Excuse me.
Jesus Christmas.
That's really rude, Brian.
That's enough. Come on.
Consider the source, Judy.
Okay, so Is there any more discussion, Chairwoman? Because I want to make a motion.
No, let's wait on the motion. I would like Mindy to address that because
too.
that was in 2018. A lot has happened since then. So Mindy, please.
So in 2018, when we originally applied for those funds, it was through the riparian protection account, which is a different account than the local parks account, which was what we applied for in 2020. So in order to qualify for riparian protection, we needed to be acquiring larger amounts of land. Well, throughout the grant process, our grant manager with RCO recommended that we instead work with a public entity like the Port of Allyn or Department of Fish and Wildlife to partner on the grant to develop the local park instead of using the riparian account. So midway through the grant season, all of that changed. So it wasn't, the final product that came out of that 2018 grant did not include acquisition. It included a conservation easement, and that was it. It wasn't a fee simple acquisition. So and that was because we were going for the local parks category, which is very different than the riparian protection category. So it changed midway through 2018. So we, if you look at the 2020 application, it didn't include any additional acquisition. It only included the 0.9 acres that is required for the development of the Sweetwater Creek Waterworld Park. Another thing about that 2018 proposal was that it was also going to support the estuary to estuary trail that we've talked about a few times before. So trail going up the hill and then down Coulter Creek into Case Inlet. So that was part of why that acquisition was included. So I don't know if there's any other clarifying points I can make.
No, I think that'll do. Jeff, you have a comment?
Yes. I've been around the port for 24 years. And I served on the Trails Committee, the Mason County Trails Committee back in, I think it was 04, 05, 06 timeframe. I'm all for setting up this area as a park. The problem is, like, when I looked at knowing the waters and ports, purpose, to me, this whole thing has gotten out of hand because I believe the port is reaching in an area where it really doesn't have an ancillary purpose to the port's activities. I know we've had the studies, we've talked about tourism and all those different issues, but if you go read Knowing the Waters, I'm hard pressed to see how Sweetwater Park fits that bill. And I think it should be a park. I think it should be available to the public, but I think this is the wrong foundation to get that off and going. My personal belief is the school district failed in its duties in carrying this out in the beginning, but things happen. And I just wish that it would get incorporated more into the park side of the equation instead of being part of the ports part of the equation. People made the comment, like the park in Allyn. Well, at least you have a dock. There's some ancillary purpose for that park. So, I know nobody wants to hear that right now. It's not going to be the top 10
What did you
things.
say?
I can't hear it.
Oh,
It's not the
Larry?
top 10 thing people want to hear. So, but I'm just saying it's not ancillary to the port's purpose. And you really, if you're going to push it, do a legal finding and get that problem resolved behind you. Please. Thank you.
Okay, moving forward. I'm not quite sure what we need to do right now. Perhaps having the discussion with the school and making sure that everybody's on board with that. Brian, you said that you had talked to Deputy Sperling. We do need to have some documentation of all that. I don't want to keep delaying this either. Kicking this can down the road, I think, is a little redundant. but we do need to have a work session or to get this moving, something. We have been on
This has gotten
hold
silly.
for the longest time.
Commissioner Scott, before, this is
No,
commissioner
can I-
discussion.
Can I finish talking this, please?
Yes, we had Brian jump in, and so I was jumping in to do my opinion before the public does.
Well, let's let Chairwoman Scott finish, please. All parties concerned. Thank you, Dr. Peterson. That we'll wait.
I would like
till
to
he's done.
set up, okay, just a minute. Larry,
Yes.
you are you're kind of overriding everything, so.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. I would like to set up a work session so we can get these questions answered and move forward for any kind of decision. We own the property. We shouldn't just let it sit there. I think I'm for this Sweetwater Park because everybody I've talked to has always been for it. Tourism, yes. You know, ports have a lot of ability to do stuff. So, okay, I see one more hand up and then I think we're kind of done. And then we'll set up a work session and get something moving. RN, whoever RN is, you go ahead.
RN is Randy Netherland.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. And just make it clear, I'm not speaking for the Mason County Commission. I'm speaking for Randy Netherland, a citizen, a past commissioner. I came on late, but one of the things I want to remind you is that as a past commissioner, parks are allowed and part of the purview as long as it's connected to the water. And guess what? That one is connected to the water. And the whole idea behind that, having the school involved with it, the school was involved. That's why you ended up with the property. I'd just like to say that, you know, you are within your ability to move forward and put this thing into place. I don't think they're asking for anything final from what I'm seeing so far. What they're asking for is to be able to move forward with the commitments that we're going to get something done on it. And I hope you guys do. I appreciate all the time and effort you guys are putting in this. And I think you've done a wonderful job. You've done over and over and over again. So just thank you for all your work. And I just wanted to share that little piece with you.
Great, thank you very much.
When there's the discussion is over, Chairwoman, I would like to make a motion.
Okay, Mindy, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to reiterate that, you know, the school district did transfer the property to the port because they wanted to see the project move forward, but didn't want to be the holders of that land when the project moved forward. So that was, you know, we worked for a long time with the school district, as you know, to make that transfer happen. It took a couple of years, and that was, you know, one of the reasons that they wanted to dispose of the land was that they wanted to see a park there, but didn't see that it was in the school district's mission to run a park. So I just wanted to remind everybody of that too.
Thank you. Okay, I think at the end, we'll set up a work session and we will, and hopefully, Larry, you can get the school, the sheriff, and at least lay out a plan. Part of that is getting these grants is to do that. You apply for the grant and then the process is then you make all the plans and iron out those details and the cleanup. That's part of what ports do. Mm-hmm. So I have to remind everybody that's what we do. Mm-hmm. So moving along, we still have a few more things that we need to talk about, and then I'd like to set up a work session. Anything else on this?
Yeah, what's that work session look? Are you talking about a work session at the end of our public meeting or another time?
It would be another day.
Well, I'm certainly ready to make a motion right now.
Please
do. Go ahead.
Okay. I'll make a motion. We move forward and we commit to this project so that Mindy can get on with applying for the grant so that we can do those other things that you just mentioned, Chairwoman. And you know, this is all previous to my time here. Well, I've been in the community and around all over the place, but now that I'm here, I really don't want to see people waste their time, and I want to see us move forward. So I'm making a motion that we move forward and commit to the project. And all that means right now is so that we can go through some additional planning and she can move forward on the grant.
I'll second it if you don't. Okay. Question. Okay, there's a motion on the floor. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, motion carries. Well, we'll move forward then.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you,
Yes.
commissioners. You did the
Next
right
on-
thing for the community.
Next on the agenda is approval of the resolution 2002-006 authorizing, it's getting late. Authorizing the use of digital signatures on vouchers and minutes. So does everybody have the resolution in hand?
Yes.
Yes.
Would somebody like to read it?
Sure.
Okay,
All right. We're talking about resolution number 2022-006, correct?
correct.
All right. A resolution providing for the use of electronic signatures by the Port of Allyn commissioners and staff. Whereas the Port of Allyn, the port is a special purpose port and municipal corporation organized under and governed by Title 53 RCW. And whereas in the spring of 2020, Mason County asked that all junior taxing districts adopt an electronic signature policy in coordination with the Mason County Disaster Resolution 2020-32. Therefore, the Board of Commissioners of the Port of Allyn hereby adopts a policy that allows for electronic signatures of commission and staff to be used on specific board resolutions, meeting minutes, vouchers, and other such port documents which require the commissioner's signatures when authorized by the respective signee commissioners. The port's executive director is authorized and directed to take any and all actions necessary to appropriate to implement the resolution. Further, the actions taken and to be taken by the executive director and authorized designees are hereby confirmed, adopted by the Port of Allyn Board of Commissions as its regularly scheduled meeting today, if we approve it.
Well done.
Okay, can I make a couple of comments here?
Yes.
Electronic signatures are being used more and more and more. And our big question was if the county would accept them. Well, apparently the county authorized the use of this in 2020, which I was not aware of. And this will save us a little bit of money in staff time and in mileage, so we don't have to chase everybody down the day after a meeting to get signatures on the vouchers and the minutes. So, we'll have to set the signatures up, and the way that this would work is it would be part of the consent agenda that you authorize the use of electronic signatures on the minutes and vouchers approved at that meeting. So, other than that.
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor?
Well-
Do I hear a motion? Sorry, Ted, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a question of the executive director.
Oh,
So
go ahead.
when
Go ahead.
when we send the administrative officer, you send us the documents, you would say to each commissioner, you approve these documents and authorize us for our electronic signature. Is that the way I'm hearing it?
Yeah, it would be
Okay.
part of the consent agenda.
Okay.
Just like, when you authorize the vouchers and all that, it
Okay.
would be, we also authorize the use of digital signatures on these documents that are approved tonight.
Perfect. So I'll
You know,
make,
It wouldn't go past that meeting. You would just be authorizing for the documents in that meeting.
perfect. So I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So moved. Okay, next on the agenda is discussion about the public outreach options for the comprehensive scheme of harbor improvements. Larry, would you like to address that?
Yeah, we're kind of at a standstill. I mean, everything we've done, all the outreach on social media, press releases. I think I've done 3 press releases at this point. And we're just not getting any interest from the public. And I'm not sure why, but we're not. So we've got less than 10 responses to the survey. So do we want to, spend the money for direct mail, which I want to say I think is a waste of money, but that's up to you all. And the other part of it is, we can just move forward with what we have if you want. It's up to you all.
Personally, I think we should just move forward because it is kind of a living document. We always update it every year. So if there's changes, we can change it.
Well, I agree. I think just moving forward so we can get this off our plate makes a lot of sense.
And I really appreciate that we did do that. We're kind of like at a crossroads in our culture and our technology where there's always those that might not otherwise be looking at what we're doing if you hadn't have done that. But we got to be wise about how we want to proceed forward. And I'm also wanting to move forward on that.
And I agree. Unless it pertains to you, nobody cares. So I agree with the other two commissioners.
I believe that actually 2 of the 10 that actually responded to that survey are on this Zoom meeting.
Absolutely.
Maybe 3. Anyway.
I just saw a chat from Randy asking if there was comments or questions in this part of the meeting, and I'll go ahead. I mean, we've been going for 2 hours. Why not some more? So is there any comments in regard to this? Randy, did you have anything?
Yes, thank you. Commissioner, I want to remind you that many years ago, there was another way that we were able to garner a lot of information from the public, and that was by going out and meeting with the public. You and I did that ourselves. Went out and we asked the questionnaires. I think our response rate was 800 and some odd people.
Oh, wow.
And if you would like to do that, I would love to hear some of those questions too. If you, as the commissioners, choose to do that and wanted to have any company, I'd be more than honored to stand with you in front of the stores and ask those questions with you. But that response was huge. And if you remember, some of those things have come to be now. Taco Bell is a perfect example. That was one of the things. And I went off to the owner and asked him to come here. Then he was held off because of the moratorium, but then we were able to get him afterwards. But that was one of our top requests from the community at the time, along with other things. And oddly enough, for myself, an Italian restaurant was also one of the things they were asking for. But just letting you know, we did do it before back then. It was very successful, and I'd be willing to stand out in the cold with you guys if you chose.
What a great idea.
Well, Commissioner, I got to tell you, every time I walk into Belfair, I get questions about the Port of Allyn. So it's not like that we're not reaching out. We are. So we are trying our best. And I remember when you were port commissioner and I was a citizen, and I would scratch my head and go, what the heck? And I know I'm sitting in your shoes right now, but we get questions every day. And some of the things I bring up are some of the questions from our quieter citizens. And I'm just trying to represent them. So
and
I appreciate your comments, but I understand what you're saying, but we do get out in the community. So.
I know you do. I know you do. And I did not mean to insinuate that you didn't, Commissioner. I was just saying that this is what we did for the survey years ago.
Yeah, and it was very effective.
Yeah, I would like to chomp in on that if I would. Randy Netherland, Commissioner, I would take you up on that and go out there because I was getting ready to move forward without doing that. But that's one last effort to get some input from the community. I'll take you up on that, and that's what I'll do.
Okay, I'll make the effort, and we'll get the stores, and we'll do it.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Leanne, you have your hand up. Leanne, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I was part of that. And yeah, the FaceTime was huge. I don't know, this isn't an actual year that we have to have the comp plan done, but at least by the time we do, get some FaceTime out there in front of the stores. And we did do mailers. It was a pain. It cost a little money, but gosh, we got a really good response by putting the effort in.
Yep.
So, but I'm not sure that it's needed right this minute because this isn't
but thank you, Leanne, because I think the whole point here is that we've already done the mailings, we've done this and that. If Commissioner Randy Netherland, and myself were to just go and really push that, we're just asking for feedback for what we have to do later, and I'm gonna hold them to that. So that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, now that moratoriums are off, getting off, that really helps. Now we can get out and be normal. So that's wonderful.
Great
well,
idea.
I'm for it too. And I know, Randy, you and I had these, was carrying the surveys and handing them to people too. And that was great. I think the one-on-one is really important. So thanks.
We might even get a response once when I said, port who? I'm like, okay. we're right down, and this is who we are, and we're wanting to serve the community, and this is, this is our plan, and we want to know what you think. So there you go.
And I would love, hopefully, maybe we can do like we did back then and actually create a survey so we could give it to them and ask them at the time. And Commissioner Jackson, I also would be honored to stand in the front of the store with you. I'm not trying to say anything disparaging, it's the opposite, just trying to offer my services and remind us of what we did in the past many years ago that was successful.
I very much appreciate it, Commissioner. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Anything else on this topic? Okay, moving on, we have discussion of who's going to be attending the WPPA spring meeting, and that's May 4th through the 6th at Skamania Lodge. I hope to go. I would like to go. Commissioners?
I'm sorry, Commissioner Sheridan, go ahead.
You don't have to tell us right now, but we are going to need to know because we need to make reservations. So check your calendars and I'll check with all of you later in the week.
No, I created a distraction, so I actually need to hear what Commissioners, Chairwoman, what you had to say. Sorry.
It was about the Washington Public Ports Association spring meeting, which is May 4th through the 6th at Skamania Lodge.
Okay.
If you are attending.
All right.
So Commissioner Scott, I plan on attending. There's some good classes coming up on that. So I do plan on attending. Larry and Leanne, if you could pencil me in. So
I'll go too, but I'm not going to wear a mask or I'm not going.
I think it's.
You only have to wear a mask in your car, Commissioner Sheridan. So
just saying. Anyway, got it. I'm in.
Okay. Next is the approval of the digital signatures for the use of today's meetings.
Oh, yeah.
Minutes. So do you have to have a motion for that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's not on the consent agenda for this meeting.
Okay. So do I hear a motion for the digital signatures to use the approval of the digital signatures? Do I hear a motion for that?
I will make a motion to approve digital signatures for the March 7th, 2022 agenda, meetings, vouchers. Gosh darn it, where I'm going blank. I'll make a motion. Leanne, please protect me on this. I'll make a motion to approve digital signatures for all the documents for March 7th, 2022 of the Port of Allyn meetings. Does that make sense?
No.
Yep.
All right.
Really? Aren't we just passing the resolution?
Well, to authorize them, but then it's not on the agenda for today's documents.
Okay. So
You need a second.
I second that motion.
Thank you.
Sorry.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, so moved. Okay.
All right, so I won't have to chase all of you around tomorrow.
Okay.
No.
So I think next is public comment. And if you would, keep it to 3 minutes. Thank you for your patience for everything. Okay, first I see Ken. Go ahead, Ken.
Commissioners, yeah, I would appreciate if the port would take a position on the Belfair Sewer extension and attend the next meeting and express that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Larry?
I just want to say that on Friday, the 11th, I will have been employed here for 7 years. And I just want to thank you all for hiring me.
Oh my goodness. It's been, boy, time's fun when you're having flies. Oh wait, time's flies when you're having fun, huh?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay, excellent. And any other public comment? Oh, Jeff.
A couple things. One is, I know people get different opinions about people, and I'm not trying to be nitpicky about your budget, but it would be nice, and I brought this up before, if every now and then there would be a little discussion, because for example, when I try to reconcile your budget to the budget you passed to the report like you produced here for the end of, for the end of February, it's hard to reconcile. For openers, you have a total, just in big round numbers, 448K in the general fund. But when you look at the general fund over here, it's like in the 380s or 370s. So, those things, kind of concerning. And I realize there's different reasons why different budget categories go higher and lower through the year, but there's a number of them that might need more attention. Some dealing with maintenance, where you're spending a lot more and there was nothing budgeted or showed budgeted in one of the reports. So I would appreciate the board, the commission, taking, a few minutes each month and looking at that and thinking about that and talking to citizens about that where things go over. There's been a lot more money spent on maintenance over North Shore or more money in electricity. So, I'm not really hung up on the details of it, other than I think it needs to be addressed to the public. And then the final thing is, I've been trying to stay out of harm's way, and I'll use the word harm's way, anything dealing with any action my brother or other parties are taking with the port, and I will stay clear of that. But where they had a little problem taking care of some documents over the weekend, I naturally gave them a hand and turned it over to them. But I noticed one of the documents was an August 2nd letter to the port declining coverage. And I won't go into the nitty gritty of it, but there's some things in the section there that are concerning to me, such as whether the named member, which is the port, has statutory authority. And there's a few others in there, and I've never heard the commission ever discuss any point of these, and I'm concerned that there might be a lot of liability in there. And if there's not, just explain it, and that's fine. I'm not trying to nail anybody to the cross. It's just that when I saw that, I was like, holy crap, nobody from the commission has ever discussed this, even one or two sentences worth. So I'm asking the board to look at that, and maybe at the next meeting, state, take that one concern about statutory authority. And if it's fine, it'll come out fine. If it's not, we'll address it. I'm not, like I say, I'm not here trying to pin anybody on the wall, just saying the port needs to be on, following the laws and working with regs and what have you. And I think it's important that it does, so that other projects have a chance to go smoother than maybe past have. Thank you.
Brian?
Yeah, hey, I just wanted to say one more time, I feel like there's progress after 12 years of raising money and running around this community, asking, literally, I've dealt with probably 150 people on the Sweetwater project, raising checks from organizations and individuals and businesses that are supportive of this park. And it's going to be such an amazing asset to our community. And God bless him, even though Ted voted against it, he still went on record saying he supports restoring chum runs, those kind of things. That 106 project or the extension is still going to replace that bridge and improve that fish passage there. And then when we do this as designed, the park and the new stream, it'll again completely improve chum runs and fish passage all the way up to the existing salmon, little salmon RPI, I think she calls it. But anyway, I just wanted to say thank you to you two for finally moving forward and putting some of these shenanigans behind us. And let's just work as one team in one community instead of finding roadblocks. Let's find a way to yes. This has been in the comp plan. It's been in the trails comp plan, Parks and Trails comp plan, the Mason County comp plan. This trail and this connection over the top has been talked about since the days of Ken Wilson and Allyn Community Association some 15 years ago. And so I just want to say again, thank you very much. Let's move forward full steam ahead. And if there's anything else I can do, I'll be involved at every turn to help the community develop another park and trail system. So thank you.
Thank you. John?
Yeah, I'd like to speak to that in a broader way. It's like, so as a port, as a team, though we have differences in how to get there, we're going to continue to improve and grow like the port has for way longer than all of us have been here. And that it is collectively decisions that I know that will be honored in the long run. For example, Commissioner Jackson's all over the salmon, which, you know, he's got a vested interest in, and not a vested interest, lack of better words, but Commissioner Jackson, God bless his heart, he's got all this focus and all this energy and all these positive things that he wants to do regarding that I believe in the long run, he's going to understand that this will come to nutrition in a positive way that'll complement everything else he's doing, you know? So, I'm just excited to be a part of that. That's what I got to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Leanne?
I just need to clarify from Jeff. He said a August 2nd letter. Was that from Honduras or?
Yeah, I think it was from
Okay.
Honduras.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
helpful.
I can clarify that. It was a letter denying coverage for legal costs to do with Brad's lawsuit.
Because they don't cover legal costs. Yeah.
They cover some, but I'm not
Yeah.
sure what.
Well, kind of in regard to that too, is that I think one thing why we haven't really talked about it, Jeff, was that when we had spoken with Washington Water, I know there's a lot to this. So because everything was still in litigation, we couldn't necessarily talk about everything, but I think once this gets through, we can, I think, be more clear about that. So does that help? Guess not. Okay.
It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt.
Can I reply here for a couple of things? Chairperson, there's my name brought up. One thing, there's very few people in this county that's ever fought more for public access to public lands except myself, and I can name one or two people. And alls I ask is that we do this thing right. And whether or not it's been done 10, 15 years ago, just like some other projects, just like mining projects, just like everything else, there's new people that come in and we need to bring them involved. So don't act like Mr. Peterson, that I'm anti-park or anti anything else. I get very disturbed when you do that to me. I am pro land for public people. And I could tell you, as long as I fought for 35 years in law enforcement, one of my major jobs is to make sure I have access to public lands. And so I just want to do it right. And I want it above board. And I'm sorry, Commissioner, and I'm sorry, Commissioner Sheridan. I just need to express myself. I'm not anti-park. I'm not anti-fishing. I'm not anti-salmon. I have been fighting that for my whole career. And I just want to make sure the public understands what's going on and where their money is being spent. So that's all I have to say. I appreciate everybody's opinion, and we all disagree here or there, but we can all be friends. So that's it. So,
well, I was actually complimenting you on that.
Oh,
note.
I'm sorry, I missed a compliment.
Yeah, you did. I'm not. I was going to make something up, but I'll be serious again.
Right.
Anyway, no, I was complimenting you on all your efforts for the salmon and all. You know, I'll add to that and say, you know, with your career and your understanding a lot. I'm just so we all have.
Commissioner.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, and that even though we differ on right now moving forward, because I'm all in until we get further things going on. But that being said, it's all going to come to nutrition where everything you care about is going to happen in a way that's going to better serve the community, because I know you have some discernment and better understanding in some different ways. But what we're doing here and with the motions we made tonight, you'll be happy with it in the long run too. That was my opinion. In addition,
I hope so too, because not only me, it's my family that's been personally attacked over this thing. And I
Yeah.
don't appreciate some of the things people have been saying. So
Well, see, that's kind of why I really like what I'm doing here with the commission, is because I don't have any of that. All I care is about moving forward to the things that make sense. It's common sense approach to making matters work, and things that I care about with the community that are showing me that they care about, and putting my best foot forward and making motions that I think make sense, and without any of that. But that's good.
absolutely.
I mean, that we'll just
Absolutely.
go
Thank
from
you.
there. Yeah.
Great.
Amen.
Okay, with that being said, you still, would a workshop still be appropriate? Because meeting with the fire district, meeting with
Yes.
the Deputy Sperling, and having
Yes.
us all sit down. Usually we do that after we get the grant, but if we need to do it before so we can move forward, then let's do that. So
Well-
Larry, if you can get a hold of these people and see if we can get a day so we can sit down and talk about it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we'll.
I'm happy
so-
to do it.
So
That's
if
a-
you'll let us know when we can
Yeah.
all meet and get this going, at least get these questions answered so we can do it right.
That's
Yes, Commissioner?
Yeah, that's a great idea. So, so we made a motion to move forward so that Mindy can get her clause in that, and then we do the things as a commission, as a port, and being responsible and getting those extra
Diligent.
things on the table. I'm all on board with that, so I'm glad. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else for the good of the order? I think we're pretty much done. I really appreciate everybody showing up. Randy, thank you. Phil, I see you too. Former commissioner, port commissioner for Greatview, and DNR guy too. Ken, thank you, everybody. Brian, Jeff, thank you. I really appreciate it. Anything else, or are we done?
Randy, Commissioner Randy Netherland, I'll get a hold of you, and we'll work with Larry to get what we need to get together and extend our reach into the community. Thank you for that.
Yes, I'd be honored. We need the survey. You guys built a sign that we were able to put up. I can supply a table,
Okay.
some pens, and we'll get at it.
Yep, love it. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, second?
I'll second that emotion unless you don't want me to.
Motion.
Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
All
All
right.
right.
Thank you, guys.